Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Monday, the 15th of September. Just wanted to shout out, yesterday was my parents' anniversary. I believe it was their 57th anniversary, so happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. Today, as I'm speaking to you, I'm thinking back to last week, the assassination or the killing of Charlie Kirk. And then there was a shooting in a Colorado high school. I think it was called Evergreen. And I read a post online, again, there's many of them, about Israel. And there's a lot of polarity. There's a lot of things happening in our world in which people are coming down on this is wrong or this is right. And that's okay. We are allowed to have our opinions. Even better if our opinions are educated and not simply emotional driven. Although I get it. Many of my opinions start out as emotion and lead me to a place where I do some research and I understand. Sometimes my opinions begin with the research that leads me to an emotion. They're not a right or wrong way of coming to an opinion. The thing is, I think we really need to be very careful about those opinions. And we need to recognize that we live in a world that is not black and white. There is a lot of gray, and I'm not getting into the rainbow stuff because this isn't about LGBTQ or any references there. I'm going straight back to the old days when we used to talk about gray areas, where there's right and there's wrong, and then there's, well, you know what, there isn't. There are times when something that would be wrong in this situation is right, and vice versa, and we have seemed to have become a society that is very uncomfortable living in or even acknowledging the gray. And I really think it's important that we learn how to live with, on the other hand. With the killing of Charlie Kirk, I'm struggling with the idea that it's a political assassination. The woman, the politician who actually served the government, I think it was in Minnesota, that was a political assassination. I'm struggling with the idea that a person who holds political ideas, or in this case, really held strong religious ideas, and allowed and married them to strong political influencing, that would be considered a political assassination. And again, here you go. Somebody can argue with me, and probably will, that yes, indeed it was. That's my opinion. That's where I'm coming from. I'm struggling with that. But the fact is that it doesn't matter whether or not I agreed with or disagreed with Charlie Kirk. What matters is that no person should be shot. No person should be shot. I was watching a great little video clip of a priest. They do the back and forth person pretending to be a different person asking questions, and this guy, the priest, answering the questions. He said, very, very few times in history has violence ever gotten peace. There is almost no time when violence is the answer. And I really appreciated what he said. There is no reason, there is no time when we should say that Charlie Kirk should have been shot. Have there been times when I wish that somebody else would be shot? Probably. In the back of my facetious brain, thinking, when is this going to stop? When is reason going to come back? When are people going to come to their senses? Do I ever mean it? I wish that person was dead? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because I believe in redemption. I believe that there is goodness in every human being, because every human being was made in the image of God. And so I cannot believe or want someone else to be dead. I can disagree with what they say. I can actually despise what they say. And that's where I was with Charlie Kirk. The things that he was saying were contrary to everything I believe as a Christian, as a priest, as a bishop. Am I glad he is dead? No. But I'm certainly also not glad that he will be given posthumously the Medal of Freedom, or whatever it's called. He was not an American hero. There are plenty of American heroes out there who have never been acknowledged or identified. He was not an American hero. He did not work for the freedom of all people in the United States. So I've got an issue with that. There was also the on the other hand thing. On one hand, am I glad that he is that I'm not glad at all. On one hand, I hope that people begin to understand the importance of toning down the rhetoric, because this might happen. On the other hand, I don't want anyone to ever be shot because of it. I am not a Charlie Kirk fan. I am not upset that I will not hear his teaching from him again, but it breaks my heart that the reason for that isn't because of transformation or love or hope or redemption, but because someone assassinated, someone took him out. That is not right, ever. I think about Israel and Gaza and Palestine, and I saw something online that was yet again saying, Israel was given this land, and it's like, you know what, you can be pro-Israeli without having to be anti-Palestinian. You can be pro-Palestinian without being anti-Semitic. When there's a lot of talk about Israel and how this land was theirs and it was all peaceful and everything, well, the fact is, it wasn't theirs. There were people living on that land. The land where Israel is now was not empty. We look at Canada and we talk about the fact that the white people came to North America and looked at it and said, essentially, there's no one here. And that was the justification for settling and colonizing and killing and ruining the lives and futures of generations and generations of indigenous people. When the world created Israel and plopped it on top of the people who were Palestinians, who had literally been there for thousands of years, how is that any different than what happened in Canada and in the United States with our indigenous brothers and sisters? Does that mean that I believe that Israelis are evil or wrong, or that they should just be removed and evicted and annihilated? Absolutely not. But I also believe that the people who are Palestinian, the people who have lived there for generation and generation, they have the right, they should have the right to live there in peace and to continue their lives. But decisions made by governments and politicians around the world in reaction to decisions made by politicians and governments in Germany and other places just created this. And we've never been able to figure out how to deal with it well. That does not mean that just because I disagree with what Israel is doing does not mean I agree with Hamas. Absolutely not. We need, as a country, as a community, we need as a society to come back to that place where I think once upon a time we actually could do it to a degree of, on the other hand. On this hand, we have this, and this is good, and this is good, and this is good. And on the other hand, the other side has this, and this is good, and this is good. And there are differences in opinion. And the thing is that we are called then to bridge the gap. How do we find peaceful, respectful ways of acknowledging on this hand and on the other hand? We seem to have thrown critical thinking out the window. We seem to have lost the complete ability to hold on to the nuance of gray, of acknowledging that not everything in this hand is perfect, and not everything on this hand is perfect. But because everything is not perfect does not mean it's all going straight to hell. It means that maybe what we should be doing is taking a look at what is good here and what is good here, and figuring out how we can make good together. But right now, I am so frustrated by the world and by our attitudes about what this is and what we're doing. The fact that Charlie Kirk is being raised up as a hero because he was shot for the cause. And we're raising up people and saying they're anti-Semitic because they simply want the children and the people who are starving and being killed in Gaza to not be starved and killed. That we're not using our critical thinking to be able to listen to, does that really make sense? Is what is being promoted by the political right around Charlie Kirk, turning him into some kind of a hero. Does that really make actual sense? And when we hear about the stuff coming out of Israel, the rhetoric, the reason why, all of the extra things that are happening, does it really make sense? You can maintain the opinion you've always had, but by God, we need to use our brains to analyze those opinions and say, after seeing all of the things, and not assuming it's fake news or listening only to one side of the story, where do I stand now? That's all I'm asking of society, is that we actually do that. And if you're still over here and you can't see the other hand, or you're here over here on the other hand and you can't see the part of this first hand, well then, okay, we've still got work to do. But the refusal to acknowledge the other hand, that's a problem. It's a problem our society must deal with, or we will eliminate our society. And that is not the stewardship that God has called us to. Have a great day. God bless you. I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.